Mexico has a gun problem. There are 15 million guns in Mexico. That is an estimated number because legally it's rather difficult to own a gun in Mexico for Mexican citizens. Curiously, on the other hand, if you are a inmigrado, sort of a green card holder in Mexico, then you can own guns, just according to the Mexican Constitution. Of course, 15 million guns estimated is a far cry from what happens in the US. In the US, there are some 60 million people own guns and a total of 200 million guns owned by private citizens in the US. But the problem in Mexico has been, in the past few years, has been so many gun-related deaths in the hand of the drug runners. And yesterday, a small town mayor in New Mexico made headlines along with the police chief of gun running from the US to Mexico. And right now there is a big controversy going on about the program called Fast and Furious, where thousands of guns have been brought into Mexico, apparently without the knowledge of Mexican authorities, but with the full knowledge of the US authorities. And that has created a big kerfuffle, a diplomatic kerfuffle between the US and Mexico. Now, how much guns that we have in Mexico are brought in from the US? That's a contentious issue. Recently, there have been claims that 90% of the guns in Mexico are of US origin, which has been hotly disputed mainly by the Fox News and people from Fox related affiliates, that they argue that less than 17% of all the guns are actually originating from the US. The truth is, we do not know. Some of the guns are identified, and the number of guns that are identified to actually have come from the US is a relatively small number. That doesn't mean that there's a whole bunch of guns that are confiscated which have their ownership evidence removed and their ID removed. It's very difficult to trace where they are coming from. But given the kind of border security crossing into into Mexico from the US, uh, the checking that is done is so little that it is very easy to smuggle guns into Mexico. The bigger problem, however, is not guns, but ammunition for guns. It is clear that most of the ammo comes from the US. As a matter of fact, if you have lots of guns but no ammo, that's no good at all. And that is how Mexico differs from, say, Nicaragua. Nicaragua, as a result of their war, Contra versus uh, the the local groups there, uh, they had lots of guns that it came in from the U.S. back uh, during the Civil War, and that has produced relatively little problem in Nicaragua for one simple reason. It is easy to buy a gun, but it's very difficult to buy ammunition. That's not the case in Mexico. And there is ample evidence that a lot of these ammunitions are actually coming from the US. And that's the serious problem that Mexico has.